The adventure began with a key turning in the ignition of our trusty camper van. It was a lovely, sturdy thing, our little home on wheels. We set off from Germany, filled with a sense of tremendous excitement. The open road called to us, promising new sights and wonderful discoveries. Our route took us north, through Denmark and into Sweden, each mile building our anticipation for the final destination, Finland. The drive itself was part of the magic. We watched the landscapes change, the architecture shift, and the lights soften as we traveled further and further towards the northern skies. It felt like we were truly escaping, leaving the familiar world far behind us. The most thrilling part of the journey was the ferry crossing from Sweden. Standing on the deck, I felt the cool sea breeze on my face. The Baltic Sea stretched out before us, vast in a deep, mysterious blue. There is something utterly romantic about traveling by sea. It feels like a proper voyage, a deliberate step from one world into another. As the Swedish coastline faded into a thin line behind us, we looked ahead to the horizon. We knew that somewhere over that water, Finland was waiting. The gentle rocking of the boat and the cry of the gulls overhead made it all feel like a dream. We were sailors and explorers on our way to a new land. As our ferry approached the Finnish coast, the first thing I noticed was the trees. There were so many of them. A dense, dark green blanket seemed to cover everything, right down to the water's edge. It was an immediate sign that we were entering a place where nature was still in charge. Stepping off the ferry and onto Finnish soil felt like a quiet triumph. The air smelled different here, cleaner and fresher, tinged with the scent of pine and damp earth. Our little camper van rolled onto the roads, and we were finally, properly, on our Finnish road trip. The sense of freedom was simply intoxicating. A whole country lay before us, ready to be explored at our own pace. Our first drive was a gentle immersion into this new world. We deliberately chose the smaller, winding roads instead of the big motorways. These little lanes took us deep into the heart of the countryside. Around every corner, a new vista would open up. Sometimes it was a shimmering lake, its surface as smooth as glass. Other times it was a clearing in the forest with a charming red wooden house, smoke curling from its chimney. We drove slowly, wanting to soak it all in. The world outside our window was a beautiful, moving painting of green forests and blue waters, a peaceful introduction to the wonders that were yet to come. Finland is often called the land of 1,000 lakes, but that feels like a massive understatement. It felt more like a land of 1,000,000 lakes. They were everywhere, appearing suddenly through the trees as we drove. Each one had its own character. Some were enormous, like inland seas, while others were small, secret ponds, hidden away in the woods. We would often pull the camper van over just to sit by the water's edge. The silence was extraordinary. The only sounds were the gentle lapping of water against the shore and the distant call of a bird. It was a kind of peace that sinks deep into your bones, a wonderful respite from the noise of modern life. Our journey wasn't just about nature, it was also about the delightful little towns we stumbled upon. These places were never crowded. They were quiet, orderly, and incredibly charming. We would park our van and wander through the streets, admiring the colorful wooden houses and tidy gardens. The local people we met were so welcoming. In one small town, we stopped at a little cafe for coffee and cake. The owner, a lovely lady with a warm smile, was so pleased to see us. She told us stories about the town and recommended a beautiful hidden beach just a short drive away. It was these small, genuine interactions that made the trip feel so personal and special. Following the cafe owner's advice, we found the most perfect little spot. It wasn't a grand, sweeping bay, but a small, sandy cove tucked away between rocks and pine trees. There was nobody else there. It was our own private paradise. We took off our shoes and walked along the water's edge, the cool sand between our toes. The water of the lake was so clear you could see every stone on the bottom. We spent the afternoon there, just reading and dozing in the gentle sunshine. Discovering these hidden gems, places not listed in any guidebook, became the greatest joy of our road trip. It felt like we were being let in on Finland's best-kept secrets. As evening approached, we would find a place to park our camper van for the night, often with a magnificent view of a lake. We cooked simple meals on our little stove, the delicious smells mingling with the fresh forest air. We would sit outside wrapped in blankets and watch the sky change color. The sunsets were breathtaking, painting the clouds in shades of pink, orange, and purple. The reflection on the still water was a perfect mirror image, creating a scene of almost unbelievable beauty. This was the rhythm of our days, simple, slow, and deeply connected to the natural world around us. It was utterly blissful. One of our most memorable stops was the town of Hämeenlinna. At its heart stands a magnificent medieval castle, a formidable structure of red brick that has watched over the lake for centuries. Walking across the drawbridge felt like stepping back in time. Inside, we explored the thick stone walls, winding staircases, and grand halls. You could almost hear the echoes of history, the whispers of knights and nobles who once lived there. The castle is beautifully preserved, and it tells the story of Finland's past, a history of struggles and resilience. Looking out from the ramparts over the sparkling lake, I tried to imagine what it must have been like to live there all those years ago. The area around Hämeenlinna was just as captivating as the castle itself. The town is nestled in a landscape of rolling hills and dense forests, a classic Finnish scene. We took a long walk through the woods near the castle grounds. The forest floor was a carpet of soft green moss and fallen pine needles. Dappled sunlight filtered through the tall trees, creating a magical, cathedral-like atmosphere. It was here that we discovered a true Finnish treasure: wild blueberries. They were growing everywhere, tiny dark blue jewels clustered on low-lying bushes. We had heard about Finland's everyman's right, which allows anyone to pick berries and mushrooms freely. So we began to pick them. Kneeling on the soft moss, we gently plucked the small berries, dropping them into our container. The difference between these wild blueberries and the ones you buy in a shop is astonishing. The wild ones are much smaller, but their flavor is incredibly intense. They burst in your mouth with a taste that is sweet, a little bit tart, and completely wild. It's the taste of the forest itself. We ate them by the handful, our fingers and lips stained a delightful shade of purple. It was such a simple, joyful activity, connecting us directly to the land in the most delicious way possible. That evening, back at our camper van, we added our freshly picked blueberries to our morning porridge. It felt like such a luxury, a gift from the forest. This experience perfectly captured the essence of our Finnish adventure. It was a blend of history and nature, of grand castles and simple pleasures. One moment we were pondering the lives of medieval lords, and the next we were on our hands and knees, foraging for our breakfast like woodland creatures. Finland offers this beautiful balance, allowing you to touch its past and taste its present all in the same day. It was a truly unforgettable experience. What I will carry with me most from this journey is the feeling of profound peace. In Finland, we found a quietness that is becoming so rare in our busy world. There were moments when the silence was so complete that it felt like a physical presence. Standing by a lake at dawn, with mist rising from the water and the world still asleep, was a deeply moving experience. It was a time for reflection, a time to simply be. This sense of calm wasn't just in the remote wilderness. We found it in the small towns and even in the friendly, gentle nature of the people we met. There is a calmness to the Finnish soul that is reflected in the landscape. The people of Finland were a quiet delight. They are not loud or boisterous, but they possess a wonderful warmth and a genuine kindness. We found that if you took the time to say hello, they would open up with lovely stories and helpful advice. They seem to have a deep respect for personal space and for nature, which I found incredibly admirable. From the woman in the cafe to a fisherman we met by a river, everyone treated us with a simple, honest friendliness. They seemed to understand why we were there, to appreciate our desire to see their beautiful country, and they were happy to share it with us. This trip was a reminder of the joy of slow travel. By choosing a camper van, we gave ourselves the gift of freedom. We were not tied to a strict itinerary or hotel bookings. If we found a place we loved, we could stay for as long as we wanted. We could follow a small unmarked road just to see where it led. This way of traveling allows for spontaneity and surprise, for the discovery of those hidden gems that make a journey truly your own. It encourages you to be present, to notice the small details, the way the light falls through the trees, the sound of the wind in the pines, the taste of a wild berry. If you are seeking an escape, a real adventure that soothes the spirit, I cannot recommend a Finnish road trip enough. Go and get lost in its endless forests, go and sit by its silent lakes, discover its charming towns and taste the wildness of its land. Don't just stick to the well-known places, be brave and explore the little side roads. Finland is a country that doesn't shout for your attention. It waits patiently for you to discover its subtle beauty and quiet magic. It is a journey that will stay with you long after you have returned home, a beautiful, peaceful memory to cherish.